Welcome to the fifth lecture of the course Representations of Finite Groups. So today we are going to talk about orthogonality relations. So let phi from G to GLN be a representation of a group G. Then for each G in G, phi G belong to G, L and C is a n by n matrix, right? But once you have a n by n matrix, you can go to the ijth projection, so you get a complex number. So this gives rise to n square functions. So thus the representation phi gives rise to n square complex valued functions. Okay, so given by let us call them phi ij. So what does it do? It go from G to C, and phi ij of a group element is the ijth entry of the matrix phi G, is the ith row jth column entry, ijth entry of the matrix phi sub G. What we are going to prove is, given an irreducible unitary representation, all these functions phi ij, which are complex valued function from G to C, they form an orthonormal set in the space of all complex valued function from G to C. Okay, so for that we need to first analyze what is the space of all complex valued functions from G to C, and that is called the group algebra. So here is the definition. Let G be a group and let CG be the set of all functions from G to C. Okay, all complex valued function from G to C. Then CG is a complex vector space. Because if we are given two complex valued functions, you can add them pointwise and you can also do scalar multiplication, so it's obviously a complex vector space. In fact, what turns out is that it's an inner product space. That is, this is a trivial fact. In fact, CG is an inner product space. Okay, so we define an inner product on CG. See, by setting this following. So if you are given two functions, say f1, f2, this inner product is what? You just sum them up, okay, and define f1 of G, f2 of G bar, okay, where G belong to group G, and then take the average over the group. Here we are of course assuming that our group is finite. So define f1, f2 to be 1 over order of the group G of this sum, and the sum is f1G, f2G bar. Okay, so homework is that it can easily be checked that CG is an inner product space. With this inner product. In fact, CG is an algebra, so there is a product CG has a product, and some books, so in this setting we can call it a convolution, called convolution given by the following rule. So if you are given two functions f1 star f2, okay, so take two complex valued functions from G to C, then we define f1 star f2 and it has to act on a group element. So it acts on the group element G by this rule. So take the sum over the group elements H in the group G, and f1 GH inverse f2 of H. Okay, and again it's a very easy check, so I'm not going to spend time on this, but maybe I'm going to come back to convolution later on. So at this moment I don't really need this product, but I just want to emphasize here that it's indeed algebra. So one can check that, homework is check that CG with convolution is a C algebra. Okay, C algebra, that means is, of course, CG is a vector space over C, and this product distributes over addition, okay, from both left and right, and also behave nicely with scalar multiplication. So we will come back to this later on. With this inner product on the group algebra CG, we have this theorem, the sure orthogonality relations theorem. Okay, so this lecture will be all about proving these relations, and a very interesting theorem. So what does it say? Let phi from G to GLNC and psi from G to GLMC be two inequivalent irreducible unitary representations. Inequivalent irreducible unitary representations. Then we have orthogonality relations among these ij's and psi ij's corresponding to the representations phi and psi. First is the inner product of phi ij with any psi kl is always 0. Okay, so with respect to this inner product on the group algebra CG, the coordinate functions of the representation phi and coordinate functions of the representation psi are orthogonal to each other. Second, what about if we take the inner product of the coordinate functions of the same representation? Then phi ij and phi kl, this inner product turns out to be again nicely behaved 1 by n if I is k and j is l and 0 otherwise. So let us now prove this. So we begin with this proposition. Let phi from G to GLV and psi from G to GLW be two representations of a group G. and let T from V to W be a linear map. I'm not assuming that it's a morphism, it's just a linear map. Then you have the following. Look at this new operator. Let us call it T tilde. T tilde that I define it by this sum. Take sum over the group elements and you define it to be psi of G inverse T phi G, okay, and take the average over the group, take this element. So you see, let us draw the picture here. So you have V here, you have W here, and T is from V to W. So here is your T, here is your T, and for each group element you have phi sub G, and for each group element you have psi sub G. So what is this sum? You go by phi G, apply T, and then psi G inverse. So remember that psi is a homomorphism, so psi of G inverse is psi G whole inverse, so it's psi G inverse, right? Because I am not given that T is a morphism, so I don't know whether this going this way is same as T. That's why this could be different from T. Alright, so take this sum over group element and you get a nice linear map, of course, from V to W. What kind of linear map is this? It turns out that this is a morphism. This is in hom G V W. So any linear map from the representation space of one group to other, you can actually transform by this averaging process into a morphism. This is the meaning here. Okay. Secondly, if your T is actually a morphism, hom G V W, then what will happen? If T is already a morphism, then this is actually T, right? So you are summing this operator T group as many times as there are group elements in the group, and then averaging out, then it is just T only, right? Then T tilde is just T. That is the direct consequence of the definition. Okay, direct consequence of the first. Let us go. This is the definition. And the third one is the following. So let's prove it. The first part. So you just need to check the definition of morphism. So nevertheless, just do it. So consider T tilde phi sub H. Okay, what is this? So just by definition, this is same as 1 by order of the group G summation G belong to group G psi G inverse T phi G. Okay, and then I pre-compose with H. Okay, then the sum goes in, so it is just same as this into phi H, right? But what is this? 1 by order of the group G summation G in the group G, and that is same as psi G inverse T, and phi is a homomorphism, so it is phi of GH. Okay, so now what we do is the following, the usual trick here. So you do some change of variables. So let us call this GH as X. Okay, so take GH to be X. Then we have T tilde phi H, then takes this form 1 by order of the group G summation. Now what is psi of G inverse? Okay, so G inverse here would become what? Psi of HX inverse T phi of X. Alright, and now G was varying in the group G. Remember, H is fixed, so as you vary G in the group G, X varies over the group G, so it is X in the group G, right? So this is same as 1 by order of the group G. Okay, and here again psi is also homomorphism, so it can be written as psi H into psi X inverse, but then this sum is independent of H, psi H comes out. So this is same as psi H and summation x in the group psi of x inverse t phi x. Alright, but again this is just a scalar, and you remember each psi h is linear map. This is just a scalar, you can bring it inside. So you can write it as psi h and of the sum inside, but the sum inside is what? It is just t tilde. So it is just t tilde. Okay, so you have got t tilde, phi h composed with t tilde is same as t tilde composed with psi h. Okay, and this h was arbitrary, so this happened for all h in the group G. So thus your t tilde is actually a morphism, so it's in home G V W. Let us prove the second assertion, which is pretty obvious actually from the definition. So if your T is actually a morphism, it is in home G V W, then what do you get then? Then you know that your phi G followed by T is same as T followed by psi G for all G in the group G. That is psi G inverse T phi G is T for all G in the group G. So thus your T tilde, which is just 1 by order of the group G, and summation G in the group G of this kind of sums is just you are summing T that many times and it is just same as T. Okay, so this is pretty simple. Third one is also obvious because you are defining P of any T to be T tilde. Okay, but T tilde actually land inside home G V W, and if something is in home G W, if you apply the operator P on that, it is identity, right, which you are thinking inside home V W, which implies that P square of T, which is, and that is same as P of T tilde. But T tilde is a morphism, and on morphism this tilde operation doesn't do anything, so this is just same as T tilde. Okay, but T tilde by definition is just P of T, and this happens for every T in home VW. Okay, so thus your P square is just P. Observe that image of P goes inside home G V W. So the map P from home V W, if I view it inside this home space of morphisms rather than home V W, then this is actually onto. This also follows from here, right? Because if we take any morphism here, then that is P of itself. Okay, and then that morphism also lies here. So for any T in home G V W, T is just same as T tilde, which is same as P of T, right? So therefore it's surjective. So this proves the proposition. It has some interesting consequences which are going to be useful in proving the Schur's orthogonality relations. The next result is the following. So let phi from G to GLV and psi from G to GLW be irreducible representations of a group G. Be two irreducible representations of a group G, and let T from V to W be a linear map. Not necessarily a morphism, that we are going to analyze later. If phi is inequivalent to psi, then T tilde is 0. And if phi is equal to psi, then T tilde can be given like this nicely. the trace of the operator T divided by degree of the notation times the identity matrix. Alright, proof. So if phi is not equivalent to psi, then what happens? So if phi is not equal to psi and phi and psi are irreducible representations, then by Schur's lemma, what do we get? We see that home GVW is actually a trivial space. There is no non-trivial morphism between two inequivalent irreducible representations, right? But we know that T tilde is always an element here, home GVW. This implies that T tilde has to be 0. So it's just a consequence of Schur's lemma. Secondly, if phi is psi, then by Schur's lemma, because T tilde is a morphism from V to W and you are talking about the same representation, so each morphism, self-morphism of a irreducible representation just look like scalar multiple of the identity. So by Schur's lemma, T tilde is actually lambda times identity for some scalar lambda in C. What is trace of T tilde? Is equals to trace of lambda I, but what is that? Is just lambda times degree on the other hand. What is trace of T tilde? It is equals to trace of this big expression 1 by order of the group G summation G in the group G psi G inverse T phi G. But trace of AB is trace of BA, and remember here that phi is psi, so this is actually just your phi, right? So you can say, you can call it A, you can call it B, then you know that trace is additive, so trace of sum of two matrices is sum of the traces, so trace will go inside, okay, and trace of AB same as trace of BA, so that is same as trace of T phi G time phi G inverse, okay, alright, but phi G inverse is just phi G whole inverse, that get cancelled, so this is just same as trace of T. Okay, so we have computed trace of T tilde in two different ways. Comparing them, what we see is trace of T tilde equal to lambda time degree of phi, and trace of T tilde is trace of T. So that means trace of T equal to lambda time degree of phi. So all this implies that T tilde is lambda times psi, and from here lambda is given by trace of T divided by degree of phi times identity. This proves the proposition. So before proceeding further, let me set some notations. Let M cross NC be the vector space of all M by N matrices over C with entries from C. Okay, then what is a basis for this? Is a standard basis for this is consists of matrices which has 1 at the ijth position and 0 otherwise. Then a standard basis for Mn cross n C consists of matrices let us denote them by Eij, which has 1 at ijth position and 0 elsewhere. Okay, so to prove sure orthogonality relations, we are going to need to apply the operator P or the operation tilde on these matrices Eij's. Okay, so before that, let us make this small observation. Proposition. So let me remind you here that as I said in the beginning, given a finite dimensional representation of a given group G into GLV, since we can identify V with Cn, okay, where n is the degree of the representation, so I will go back and forth viewing my representations as map from group into some generally into GL of some vector space, or map from G into GL and C. All right, so they are equivalent. So it depends on the convenience of what we want to prove. Okay, so let phi from G to GL and C and psi from G to GLMC be two unitary representations of a group G. Okay, and let us set A to be one of these standard bases of the space of all m by n matrices over C. E K I, okay, belong to m cross n C. All right, so then you can view A as an operator from Cn to Cm. A tilde and its ljth entry turns out to be given by the inner product on the group algebra. Phi ij and psi kl. Okay, very simple proof actually. So first note that since psi is unitary, each psi g is a unitary matrix. Right? That is psi g into psi g star transpose conjugate is identity is same as psi g star into psi g. From there we get the following, that psi of G inverse is what, which because psi is a homomorphism, so it is same as psi G whole inverse, and that is psi of G transpose conjugate. What can you say about the coordinate functions of this matrix? So psi of Lk of G inverse, you can write from here, it turns out to be psi of KL of G and bar from here, right? Because the Lkth entry of this is same as Lkth entry of this, okay? But it is transpose conjugate, it becomes KL entry of the conjugate, right? So we are going to use this to prove the identity. So now let us compute this. Let us compute A tilde L comma J, okay? But we know what is the formula for A tilde, but that is A is what? A is this matrix EKI, which has 1 at the kith entry and 0 everywhere, and you can easily check and find out that you can write it as order of the group G, summation G in the group G, and the LJth entry of 3 matrices where the middle matrix is one of this kind EIs. So it is given by psi LK G inverse phi ij of G. Okay, you can just compute it directly. All right, but what is this? This is simply 1 over order of the group G, and from here this is complex conjugate. G belong to group G, and this is psi of K comma L of G bar phi of I comma j of G. But now you recall, what is this sum? Where for fixing K and L, psi KL is a complex valued function, fixing I and J, phi ij is a complex valued function, and you have average of this sum, okay, which by definition is simply the inner product on the group algebra, that is phi ij inner product with psi KL. And that's what we wanted to prove. We can now prove sure orthogonality relations. Let phi from G to GL and C and psi from G to GL MC be two inequivalent, irreducible unitary representations of a group G. Then there are these orthogonality relations between the coordinate functions of the representations phi and psi. Okay, so phi ij and psi kls, they are orthogonal to each other with the inner product on the group algebra, and phi ij and phi kl, they also are orthogonal up to this factor 1 by n factor, okay, where n is the dimension of the representation phi, and similar thing will hold for psi. All right, so let's prove them. So to prove them, we are going to use the preceding proposition regarding the matrices Eij's. For the first part, take A to be the matrix EKI, which is a matrix which has 1 at the kith entry and 0 everywhere. It's a m by n matrix over C. If you want to think of it as a linear operator, it's a map from Cn to Cm. All right. So now my representations are inequivalent and both of them are irreducible and unitary. Therefore, A tilde, which becomes a morphism from the first representation to second representation, by Schur's lemma, it has to be 0. This we proved in the preceding proposition. All right. And just in the proposition before this proof, we showed that how to really find the LJth entry of this A tilde, where A is given by EKI, right? So the matrix itself is 0, therefore all the LJth entries are 0, and which are precisely given by this inner product on the group algebra. So therefore the inner product of the coordinate function phi ij with the coordinate function psi kl turns out to be 0 for all ij and for all kl. Let's prove the second part. For the second part, take A to be EKI, which is a n by n matrix over C. Okay, and we know that A tilde is given by trace of A divided by degree of phi times identity. We proved it in a preceding proposition, and which I just write value of A here, which is trace of EKI divided by degree of phi times identity. So let us say when I is not equal to K. So if I is not equal to K, then the only non-zero entry, which is 1 in the matrix AKI, EKI, is outside the diagonal. So the trace is 0, so the right hand side will be 0. So therefore the corresponding entry of A tilde LJ, okay, which is phi ij and phi kl, because phi is psi in the second case, okay, that will be 0 if I is not equal to K. Let us take the second one. If J is not equal to L, that means then the JLth entry of the identity matrix is 0 it is because it becomes off diagonal, okay, and therefore A tilde is LJth entry, which is the LJth entry of this, which is just a scalar times LJth entry of the identity matrix, will be 0. So then inner product of phi ij with phi kl will again be 0. Okay, so what is the case left? So the case left is if j is equals to L and I equals to K. What happens in this case? In this case, if K is I, then EKI has 1 on the diagonal and therefore trace become 1. Degree of the representation is n, of course, in all cases. And if J is L, then the diagonal entry here is also 1. So it is the therefore the LJth entry of the matrix A tilde, okay, in the situation when J is L and I equal to K, is precisely 1 over degree of the representation phi, which is precisely 1 over n. Okay, then this inner product phi ij phi kl in this case become precisely 1 over degree of the representation, which is n. So this proves Schur orthogonality relations. Corollary: let phi be an irreducible. Let's write an interesting consequence of Schur's orthogonality relations. Let phi be an irreducible unitary representation of a group G, and let us say n with the degree of the representation phi. Then there are these n square coordinate functions, right, phi ij's. Then the n square functions square root of n times phi ij, where I and j between 1 and n form an orthonormal set in CG. This is immediate. So what we showed is that the functions phi ij's, they are orthonormal up to factor 1 by n. So if we just multiply each function by square root of n, it becomes orthonormal in that normalized sense. Okay, this is an immediate consequence. Let us conclude this lecture with another interesting consequence of Schur's orthogonality relations. So let G be a finite group. Then G has only finitely many inequivalent irreducible representations. Let us call this 1. And secondly, from 1, once you know the group G has only finitely many inequivalent irreducible representations, let us enumerate them. Let phi 1, phi 2, so on, phi k be representatives of all equivalence classes of irreducible representations of your group G. And let degree of phi I be, say, ni. Then we can show that k is less than or equal to n1 square plus n2 square nk square, which is less than or equal to order of the group G. Let's see how to prove assertions 1 and 2. If G is a finite group, then it follows from Schur's orthogonality relations that the coordinate functions of all the representations they form an orthonormal set in the group algebra CG. Okay, but the dimension of the group algebra CG is precisely order of the group G. Therefore, the group G cannot have more than order of group many inequivalent irreducible representations, of course up to equivalence. Okay. Secondly, if phi 1, phi 2, phi k are the representatives of equivalence classes of inequivalent irreducible representations of a group G, then each phi I, let us say of degree ni, then there are ni many these coordinate functions, okay, and all of them form an orthonormal set in the group algebra CG. Therefore, n1 square plus n2 square plus nk square size orthonormal set is sitting inside the group algebra, for which the dimension is precisely order of the group G. Therefore, this sum has to be less than or equal to order of the group G. At the same time, each degree is at least 1 because it's an irreducible representation and always assumed to be positive degree. So each ni is bigger than or equal to 1, so is bigger than or equal to k. Later we are going to show that the second inequality is always an equality, and the first inequality becomes an equality if and only if the group is abelian. In fact, for the finite cyclic group, you can check it yourself. I will finish this lecture here. Thank you.